No, don't worry. You haven't magically teleported back to 2019. I did it again. I bought another Ford Raptor. However, this one isn't broken. Okay, doing that was a lot of fun, but I promise we won't do it again, driving that quickly. I'll do it slower this time. I mean, you can probably already tell this thing is absolutely filthy. We've already been driving off-road, allegedly. We won't get into the details, but you've probably got some questions, I've got some answers, and today we're gonna talk about them, and I'm gonna tell you why I bought another Ford Raptor. Spoiler alert, the reason will get you hyped. Question number one, you're probably wondering, Nick, what do you actually have in your garage now? Because I change cars every about 2 minutes and replace them with exactly the same car, it's a little difficult to keep up. So currently I have this, my new 2020 Ford Raptor that I purchased used from my friends over at Ford. Currently it's got around 50,000 kilometers on it and I absolutely love it, and I'll tell you why I bought it. Hello, Nick from the future here. I realized I didn't actually tell you much about the new Ford Raptor, so here you go real quick. It is basically identical to my old one, except it is a 2020 version, so it's basically got upgraded suspension. It has literally all the exact same features, except no carbon fiber on the inside, and duh, it's blue. I've also got this thing, my 2017 Shelby GT350. I'm not at all biased towards Ford. And I always get comments about this, my 2008 Volkswagen Golf R32. If you're new to the channel, it was my first car. I bought it when I was 18 years old, and I always said, if I was in the position to keep my first car, I would do it. So I kept it. We will talk about my R32 in a second though. So yes, unfortunately, we said goodbye to my Subaru STI. It was an awesome car, but it was time for it to go. Again, for those of you who might be new to the channel, I've had 2 Subaru STIs now, a 2012 and a 2020, and they're fantastic cars, but right now, it feels like I've completed the Subaru thing. I mean, saying that, I guarantee you I will be getting another one of them in the future. Probably this time, though, in early 2000s. That's a long way in the future, though. Speaking of other Subaru STIs, though, the reason I said goodbye to mine is because recently, values of the Subaru STIs have been absolutely booming. Specifically, the one that I had was a 2020. It was like one of the last Subaru STIs that Subaru is making because they're a little wishy-washy at the moment. And long story short, that means values of them have absolutely exploded, so it just made sense to say goodbye to it, as much as it hurt. And not to mention the elephant in the room, no, it just wasn't as special as my original one. The reason I bought the 2021 was because I loved my 2012 so much, and the 2020 just didn't do it the same way the original one did. So that's what's in my garage for the moment. It'll probably change within the next 5 minutes, and I'll probably replace something with a car I've already owned. Yeah, but that's what it is for now. We'll see about the future. The next question you probably got is, why? And to answer that question, we need to go back a little bit. For me personally, and in the videos that you guys see every single day, I try to always push myself to do more and be better than I was the day before. For example, last year, my goal was to purchase and build a PLP50 kit car. I've never done anything like that before. I would be jumping outside my comfort zone. I thought, perfect, this is the thing I want to do. And unfortunately, those plans fell through. And for legal reasons, I'm not allowed to talk about. I mean, maybe at some point I'll hire a proper lawyer and recreate this scene from the Grand Tour and tell that story properly, because it's a pretty interesting one, but we'll get to that later. Anyways, long story short, I've always had to rely on other things to achieve my goals, and I said enough is enough. I want to do my own this year. So if you follow me, you might have seen this post that I put up where I said my goal for 2023 is to take my Golf R32 and get it onto a race circuit. Whether that be doing autocross, time trials, racing, I don't care. I want to get it onto a race circuit, and this Ford Raptor allows me to do it. And I'll explain why. How exactly does buying a Ford Raptor, though, help me get my Golf R32 onto a race circuit? Well, let's just say, without getting into the nitty-gritty, my Volkswagen Golf R32 isn't exactly road legal. And by that I mean, if you're watching from the government, it is 100% safe and it doesn't pollute the environment. Yeah. My Volkswagen Golf, though, is so road legal, in fact, it's not even currently registered to drive on the road because of how safe it is. Yeah. Anyway, so that left me two options. Number one, either I could register it for the road, pay a bunch of money to a man to make it more road legal than it currently is, allegedly, and then I can drive it on the road about never, which is what I did before. And that's where we get to option two, where I could either just say, screw it. Let's just have some fun with the car. Instead of letting it sit in the garage and just collecting dust, why don't I drive it and have fun with it properly? And that is the option that I've chosen. So now here's the problem. Because of what I was saying earlier about how the Golf not being strictly road legal, it basically leaves me with one option to get it to my destination, and I need to tow it everywhere. So I need something large, something truck-like, an SUV, something with some pulling power behind it. And I mean, right out of the gate, I immediately jumped to the new Ford Broncos. I absolutely love those things. They look awesome. The new Bronco Raptor is unbelievably cool. But when I actually looked into them, the Bronco Raptors, the same thing as like the Jeep Wranglers, can't actually tow very much. Their towing capacity is like 3,000 to 4,000 pounds depending on which version you want to actually get, and that just isn't enough to pull a trailer and a Golf on the back. That led me down the road to option two. I've always been a big fan of German and European SUVs, for example, things like the SQ7, the Q7, the Range Rover SVR, the Porsche Cayenne, and those sorts of things. But one, if you buy them new, they will cost you an arm and a leg, and if you buy them used, they will break down on you and cost you an arm and a leg. Long story short, I had to keep my search going, and then we arrived back to Ford. After I inevitably decided I didn't want to become bankrupt, that led me down the road to my friends over at Ford again, so I actually looked at things like the Ford F-150 Tremor and the Ford Ranger Tremor, both of which awesome vehicles. The F-150 Tremor is super nice, but there's something about it that just isn't it for me. And the Ford Ranger Tremor, again, is an awesome vehicle. It is such good value for money, but it's just missing that thing to make it that little bit more special. Now I can already see you right in your comments saying, Nick, why didn't you get the newer Ford Raptor? This thing's a Gen 2 Ford Raptor, and Ford just launched the Gen 3 Ford Raptor, and those are awesome. They look super good. They sound super good, and in every measurable way, they are incredible. Except if you're looking at them from a dollar-based perspective and saying, what will I get more value out of? Either I can buy a used Ford Raptor, or I can go out and spend more money on a newer Ford Raptor. And at the end of the day, the leap in technology, styling, performance isn't something that I really need for what I'm using this truck for. So I said, why don't I save the money and grab the Gen 2 instead? And that's what I did. And again, I know there's gonna be some people in the comments of this video saying, Nick, why didn't you go out and get the new Ford Raptor R? 700 horsepower, go brrrr. Long story short, they're $150,000, and money doesn't grow on trees. And not to mention, I've always been the type of person who says, why would you buy one expensive vehicle when you can buy 2 or even 3 vehicles for the same amount of money? And that's essentially what I did with this thing. I went out, I bought the Ford Raptor. I'm gonna need to buy a trailer to pull my Golf around, and then I'm gonna need to spend a bunch of money servicing my Golf so it can actually drive on a race circuit without boiling its brake fluid, for example, buy some new tires for it so I don't crash on the first corner. Then I need to go out and actually pay for track time. Track time isn't free, and all of that costs a bunch of money. So long story short, money doesn't grow on trees. However, saying that, if you'd like me to spend a lot of money, consider buying some merch. And if I sell enough of these, I promise I will buy more vehicles. Speaking of cool Fords, hello. Ford Bronco. That thing looks sick. So that is the plan. That is why I'm back in a Ford Raptor. I know the Ford Raptor isn't the perfect platform for towing, but it certainly can tow. With my old Raptor, I towed my Golf around. Currently, my next step is I need to secure a trailer ASAP and get something before the winter is over. So as always, if you want to come along with me on my journey, consider subscribing. Thank you for hanging out with me today, That is my new used Ford Raptor and why I bought my dream truck again.